Just outside of Leeds, Alabama, there rests the world's largest collection of Lotus race cars. While normally they would sit quietly collecting dust in the museum, today they get unleashed as we get ready to watch round 3 of the Lotus 79 Sunday Grand Prix series. And you'll see it all live here on iRacing and the Global SimRacing Channel. I'm Joe Peak, and joining me in the booth is former racer Joey Atterbury. Behind the scenes is our director, Christian Duploy, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Joey, Walt Monza was long, flat-out sections of racing. Today we'll see far less full throttle time.
Yeah, Barber is definitely call it a go-kart track in comparison to what these drivers were just on a week ago. So I can't wait to see how the short racetrack, but heavy elevation and some aggressive passing opportunities into those brake zones are going to produce for racing.
It tends to be exciting in spite of the lack of passing chances, but this place is one of my favorite tracks, so let's introduce you to Barber with our track guide. Welcome to Barber Motorsports Park. Located just east of Birmingham, Alabama, this is one of the newer circuits in American road racing. The track was built in 2003 by George Barber to go along with his Barber Vintage Motorsports Museum, which can be seen appropriately from Museum Corner on the track. While the main circuit is the full course, which includes 16 turns over roughly 2.25 miles, there are also two lesser used layouts called the Short A and Short B courses. The track is known for its technical layout and hugely dramatic elevation changes. In every category of racing, it carries a reputation of making overtakes difficult. That's not to say it's impossible, with most passes happening into Charlotte's Web. Named for the spider sculpture outside the hairpin, it often suckers drivers into braking too deep with the sudden drop just as you attempt to slow the car down. That's not the most challenging part of the circuit, though. Museum Corner is reminiscent of turns like the corkscrew, with its blind entry, multiple apexes, and cliff-like plunge down a hill. IndyCar and IMSA have visited many times in the past decade, while motorcycle racing is also a regular staple here. Practice and precision are usually required to be able to find a fast lap, but there's a heavy dose of bravery also needed in a number of spots. Despite the track being very wide, accidents often collect multiple cars due to the lack of visibility over crests. All in all, this place proves tough to even seasoned veterans. But with the hillsides and trees providing beautiful natural viewing spaces and an immaculate facility, it's no wonder fans keep showing up in droves to watch the racing here. This place is really a roller coaster. Lots of elevation change, but it is technical, Joey, so you got to be on your marks.
There is a lot of elevation change here at Barber Motorsports Park, and trust me, it all kicks off at the apex of turn number 1. You could even consider it the brake zone of turn number 1. Starts to go downhill, and that entire left-hander, you just got to hang on to the front end of the car till you reach that compression at the exit. And then you really want to talk about elevation. Turns 2, 3, 4, and all the way to 5. It goes uphill, heavy downhill into a compression, and then turn number 5 is your best passing opportunity on this racetrack. But you got to be careful. It is another downhill brake zone. Putting the power down coming out of turn number 5 is always important. And look towards that 7, 8, 9 complex. That is the museum complex down there. You got to be careful about upsetting the platform up over those curbs. 10 and 11 is a fast S. And then sector number 3 is filled with elevation change, but more technical, where the drivers are having to balance the front and back end of the cars.
Well, the drivers in these cars will have a lot of downforce to hold them down, but that will still see them get a little bit light over those big crests around here. As we take a look at the championship situation, Pauli Partanen has managed to win the first 2 races. What's interesting is he did not take any of the bonus points and all of that. Neither of the fastest laps and neither of the pole positions. Toku Hisada sitting behind him by 18 points. Needs to strike back a little bit. We'll see if he can do that here. Pepe Fuentes then sitting in the 3rd spot, has a very close battle between himself and Zamaloa, who had a heck of a race yesterday in the other Lotus car in the 49s over at the Nürburgring. From there, it's a big old drop-off where things get close between the drivers behind, but 5th on down are showing that it is difficult to try to run at the sharp end here, lacking the points that we see up at the top. That is just the F1 championship. We, of course, have an F2 championship as well.
Yeah, same cars, just different I rating, and right now it is Josephine Becker leading the way. Look at that, 46 points over the unicorn machine of Bjorn Ackerman. Reisman sitting here in third, only a narrow 9 points out of second, and then you see things definitely start to tighten up. Adam Klatska back here in fourth, Steinbild here in fifth, Jesse Bronin in sixth, Ben Summers seventh, Kurt Clapper eighth, Robert Simpkins in ninth, and Thomas Tuba rounding out our top 10 in those F2 driver standings.
Last but not least, we have the team's standings, and Parmalat Racing currently up at the top, with Arrows sitting about 21 points behind, and appropriately, the John Player Lotus team sitting in third. But look at how close it is between themselves and the TVR team, with Dylan Freckleton, the only one contributing points there. So doing a phenomenal job there as a solo effort, essentially. Jib Racing, then another 7 points back from them. From there, Minardi, Ferrari, Fittipaldi, Koviak, and Inson wrap up the last of our 10 competing teams here this season. Real quick, Joey, could you take us through the race details?
Yeah, certainly. We are here at Barber Motorsports Park, and what we are going to be doing is 31 laps for round 3 of 12 here in this season. It is an open setup, so that means you can click on that garage tab and tweak and tune on this car. You got a little bit of understeer. Well, guess what? You can fix that. And then, of course, join the community because they love handing out the fast stuff. If building setups isn't your forte, well, trust me, like I said, join the Discord, join the community. They love to hand out the fast stuff. And then talking about the incident limits out here, 17 incidents will get you a drive-through penalty, disqualification at 25 incidents, and of course, no spare car. So it's just like real life.
There's definitely some places where you could wind up in the barrier here. So that spare car, if you did have it, could wind up being valuable, but no such luck here as we watch Togo Hisada down through Museum Corner and towards the latter half of the track. He is on his second lap, and he was in P2, but Jacob Reed, Oye Zamaloa is currently in second and third now, and Partanen is on pole. It is 2/10 that the Japanese driver needs to make up. Can he do it here?
Oh, pretty wide out there, but this is one of those sections of the racetrack where you really have to kind of expand on the mechanical grip. This is coming out of what is turn number 16 here. Let's see what he can do for that second lap, a 1:11.76. So he actually does not improve the lap time. That shows to be about 7/1000 slower than what he was before.
Interesting. So Togo's only going to be starting from fourth today. Not what he wanted in this situation where it's going to be so hard to pass. Jack David Spickett, in the meantime, has not set a lap yet. So let's watch on board as he gets ready to put his first time in. And I think he will have enough time for the second lap around. Here as we watch him exit out of 16 onto that main straight. You can see cars often go wide there, but he keeps it within the boundaries.
Nice job, and let's see what this number 10 car puts down, a 112.0. So that's going to jump him up inside the top 10 all the way up until 8th. And like you said, he still has time for another lap time out there. This is Dylan Freckleton. He's another one of these drivers that has not put in a lap time yet, and this one's going to be a 113.0. So slide him into 17th. But both Freckleton and JDS, we know that these second laps are usually a little bit faster with the temperature.
Yeah, and if Dylan does not get a better one in, he is going to be hurting. Only 17th for Dylan is massively far down compared to what he typically sees. Let's go back to JDS now as Spickett comes towards the start of the S's through 11 and 12. Very fast, sweeping left and right. And you can see as the track does crest a little bit there, but this one super blind on entry on the first part and in the second part on the exit.
And then you go up and over that tunnel there, hit the compression, and what is turns 14 and 15, kind of the second apex here. Turn 16, the left-hander, a little bit of elevation on the downhill, and actually a little bit of camber built into that corner as well to try to help you grip up off of it. 111.5, so he will improve his lap time, and unfortunately, Freckleton is off, missing a wheel. That number 10 car, provisional pole, 111.5 is P1.
Yeah, I was about to say, not only did he improve, I'm trying to think if we've had a poll from Jack David Spiggott. I'll check to see if our stats are up to date here, but
I don't believe we have had JDS on the top spot before. If we have, it's been a long, long time. In the meantime, I think this is Daniel Gallus that we've got on screen, just basically practicing from here because he's already taken both of his laps.
Yeah, and I think that at Barber, if you're maybe not quite as confident in the car, it's good to go out here and do some of these practice laps. And we got a lot of curbs, a lot of apex curbs throughout this place, and you do have to be aggressive on some of them. So a couple extra laps out there, not going to do you any harm.
Exactly. So don't blame him on that one. Well, it looks like the grid is in fact set for this race today, and a bit of a shocker up at the front. Jack David Spickett could maybe steal a win. It is small margins between himself and Partanen, but if he doesn't lose that lead, it's going to be difficult for others around him to make overtakes. There you see it. Jack David Spickett, your pole sitter with Pauli Partanen to his outside. Jacob Reed, good enough for third today. Oye Zamaloa, P4. As Togo Hisada gets pushed down to fifth with JDS jumping up there late in the qualifying. Karthik Pai starts from P6. Alberto Sanao will be in P7, and Timothy Reed 8. Hosu Alzagari will be in 9th, and Shady Ahmad will start in the top 10.
Then in 11th, we'll have Mickey Friesen here in the number 14 car. Bjorn Ackerman going to be lined up next to him in 12th, with Tobias Nara in 13th and Farron Grau in 14th. Josephine Becker, that F2 Points Championship leader, in 15th, with Jean-Francois Bosca 16th. Dylan Freckleton 17th, Gabri Martinez 18th, Pablo Suarez in 19th, and Parrish back here in 20th.
21st is going to be going to Alexis Tapia Vico, Barry West then in 22nd. Gord Janot will be in 23rd. Juan Fran Hernandez, P24, quarter century mark goes to Kurt Clapper. Martin Riesman will start in 26th. Ty Keela in the 27th spot. Antonio Alvarez, P28. From there, row 15 has Simon Steinbild on the inside and Pablo Arteaga on the outside. I'll just wrap these up as our last few drivers. Only Keith Herner had a lap time. Clapper, Gallus, Blair, Cockram, and Spice will start according to iRating at the back of the field. I did get a chance to look, and this is at least pole number 8 for Jack David Spickett. Not sure if since the last time our stats were updated, if he has garnered any since then, but apparently he does have a fair few under his belt as we wait for Pauli Partanen to be among the last drivers to grid up here to start this race. And it looks like they are all out there now, ready to go. The lights will come up as the engines start to rev. And it looks like it is going to be a decent start, but not a good start for Spickett. Partanen is a huge launch off the line. Almost second place loss for Jack David Spickett as Zamaloa then gets shoved to the outside, keeps from falling too far down with two wheels in the grass behind them. Looks like they are good.
Yeah, now we hit this compression through turn number 3. Look at the entire field. Always trying to use up every millimeter of track here at Barber Motorsports Park, and 3 wide, avoiding contact down there at turn number 5. That was Togo Hisada with an aggressive braking maneuver. He slides up into 4th place.
He knows he's going to have to make up these positions early or else it's going to be difficult after. Zamaloa drops another one. It's Karthik Pai with a great move into the top 5 down through Museum Corner. There, that is Karthik in that bright yellow number 6 just ahead of the number 4 of Oye Zamaloa. They get single file to head through the S's now.
Partanen coming up to this fast, high-speed S-section turn number 12. You come down here and hit this compression up and over the tunnel that we've got here at Barber Motorsports Park, and then once again down into sector number 3. Really got to woe the car down through here. Some of the slowest sets of corners that we've got on this entire 16-turn facility. And now we come back out complete lap number 1.
I think we may have gotten away without any major incidents. I see Juan Fran Hernandez a little bit far back, but otherwise, everybody has completed lap 1 with it not knocking wheels against one another. Bjorn Ackerman coming through the Alabama roller coaster, trying to set up for a pass for 12th here. That's Mickey Friesen just in front of him. And in fact, there's a whole bunch of cars as they fan out down into Charlotte's Web, and there is contact this time. That's going to send Nara off into the runoff and stuck waiting for an opening.
Unfortunate there for the number 23 car, but that's what I like to see. He grabbed reverse instead of pulling it out onto the racetrack. That is heads-up driving from Nara. Just really unfortunate how many positions he's now lost.
Down to the braking, trying to get back into it, but Tobias is definitely in the thick of the fighting. My goodness, even though this was split, 36 cars is a lot around here.
Yeah.
Even IndyCar doesn't see this many open wheelers try to compete.
I was going to make that point that it is a packed racetrack with these open wheelers. These Lotus 79s are so fast around here, and we actually just had another incident. Oh, a huge incident on the backside of the racetrack. This is probably 4, 5, or even more cars. Here's one of them, Artiga involved. I think that Kirk Clapper was also involved, Aaron Blair. That was a big one.
And Nara as well, the Argentinian. Second incident in one lap, unfortunately, as we come back around up over the crest of turn 4. Josephine Becker with a lot of pressure being put on for that 15th spot. And it looks like the German driver is going to be able to take that away.
Nice job there. And this is a good battle, like you said, right here for the top 15. And now getting a little bit aggressive, taking a look down to the inside there. Of course, we're watching Josephine Becker with Farron Grau, given that attack there on the defense, or right on the back end.
Back up to Spickett. I'm sure he's going to be kicking himself for losing that lead, because Partanen's going to be a tough customer to get by. But watch out for Jacob Reed in behind them. They'll switch back around through 16 onto the main straight once again. 4 laps now done in this race. They're going to go by fast, even though there's 31 to try and complete here today. And as we can see, there's not much to separate our top 4.
And while we got our eyes on the Pepsi machine here, yes, he's got a lot of pressure from the back. Jacob Reed, also Togo Hisada right there applying that pressure. But give props to this number 10 car. I mean, he was nowhere on that first lap in qualifying, stole away pole position from Pauli Partanen. And yeah, maybe didn't get the best standing start that he had wished for. However, he is yet to let go. He's only, call it, maybe 4 or 5 car lengths behind the leader, and that's actually an even gap between himself and Jacob Reed as well.
So as we exit out of the museum turn, once again, there you see Pauli's number 2 leading the way. Jack David Spickett doing a pretty good job keeping him honest at this stage. And let's see what happened in this big incident. Oh, Tobias, very much wrong place, wrong time, and a car just maybe going a bit wide and clipping the grass, then into the side of the Argentinian.
Yeah, there, like you saw, there was an incident in front of him, some people avoiding action, and you got to feel for Nara because he was kind of innocent victim in 2 incidents now. A little bit unfortunate for that 23.
Back to our top 4 once again. Continue to spread away from Karthik Pai, now up to about 1.5 seconds. Togo Hisada, though, taking the fastest lap. That's a little bit interesting. These cars do get lighter as the race goes on, so they tend to put in their quickest laps later in the race we go.
You had mentioned we got 36 cars. Well, it's now down to 33 cars. I'm actually going to check to see where the furthest back is. They're reaching start-finish line right now. We've only reached lap 5 of this race. I think the lap traffic is going to play a factor come in the later stages of this one.
I think you're right, very much so. And there's very few places to try to get by traffic easily, so you need a little bit of cooperation from those in front of you. Speaking of those in front of you, Spickett looked very strong coming through the S's once again. I kind of wonder what the differences in setups do look like between these top drivers, because we know that Partanen likes to try and trim it out to keep straight line speed.
And we do know that JDS kind of brings some alternate setups every now and then. Typically, he's trying to do something a little bit different than what Partanen or Hisada does out there. So maybe this is one of those racetracks where he's unveiled maybe a super high downforce setup, and it's just providing him all of that grip, maybe a little bit more downforce than those cars around him.
All right, so coming back down into Charlotte's Web. It's getting very close. I noticed that as well around the penultimate turn, that Hisada nearly got to the gearbox of Jacob Reed there, but just can't seem to find a way by. Does look like the 5 is slightly quicker currently.
I think it's just kind of a seesaw battle where maybe JDS catches the back end of Partonen, and then maybe Reed has a little bit of moment of looking in the mirror, and all of a sudden there's Togo Hisada. Remember how fast Jacob Reed is. He's always up there towards the front, so even though that there's a little itty-bitty bit of a gap in between himself and JDS, he might just be trying to keep a little bit of clean air on the front end to preserve those front tires, too.
So this is to try and wrap up the lap out of turn 16. And once again, they go equidistant from one another, all just separated by about 3 to 4 tenths apart here up at the front of the group. And Jacob Reed having a few connection issues in the midst of this as he suddenly disappeared from this group. Which could be good, could be bad if you're Togo Hisada, because if that car reappears, we don't know where it's going to show up.
Yeah, that's always a little bit of a nervous moment. And the thing with Togo Hisada is that without that third car in line, he is going to continue to close it up to our front two leaders. So if Jacob Reed does reappear, like I said, we don't know where he is actually going to be as we check in on this battle for what is 7th place. This is Alzagari headed up, and as well as Sanau, Ahmed, and Friesen. Ackerman also included in it.
Yeah, nice run from Ackerman today. I'm not sure that we've seen him fighting for the top 10s very often. And hopefully he has a little bit of a better day than he did at the Nürburgring as he got disconnected. It looks like Canal and Alzagari are going to go side by side briefly, but Josu is going to come out ahead with that 7th spot. But things getting spicy as he leaves the door open a little bit, and Alberto unable to try and pick up the position. That was almost the IndyCar move down into that penultimate corner. He's going to get the inside, though, coming down into turn 1, and Alberto will make it stick that time.
So Sanau up into 7th place, and Alzagari has got to be careful because Shady Ahmad is now right there underneath that rear wing. Actually has a little bit of a run. Let's see if he pokes the nose down into turn number 5. All of them pretty aggressive on the brakes. They all get the car slowed down. This is a triple apex left-hander here, turn number 5. So you kind of get a variety of racing lines on which driver wants to hit which apex and which car is going to put down the power the best.
Vasquez, unfortunately, getting turned the wrong way up and over the tunnel turn. Thankfully, not hitting anything. Not often that you have that situation, as the barriers are very close on either side over that crest, as you can see here. Hisada is now, I think, pretty much, he has been moved up to 3rd because Jacob Reed officially has lost his connection and has had to reconnect. He'll have to wind up a few laps down. I knew I shouldn't have said anything about Bjorn Ackerman. He's just gone off.
No, so unfortunate for that number 34 car. He was right on the tail end of that battle we were watching, but with no more Jacob Reed, look at this. Togo Hisada has now occupied that spot. He is firmly in 3rd position. He has set his sights on the Pepsi machine in front of him, but guess what? We're not even halfway through this one. This is kind of a different game for Togo Hisada. I think that he could actually kind of sit back here, take some notes, and be like, all right, do I want to be aggressive right now, or do I want to be aggressive later on?
That's the big question. And sometimes it's hard to tell, especially at a track like this, where you might not get those opportunities later. You do not know. We're still waiting to see what the traffic is going to look like. And it is a while before they even get to the first car. Even then, it'll only be one machine in their way as it sits right now. It's when they really get to big groups that it's going to be a lot more difficult. These three glued together, all about less than a second apart from one another.
Shady Ahmad thought about it. Now he's going to think again for an over-under, but gets the nose chopped off there. And I think I see that Karthik Pai maybe just had an incident. There it is in the upper right part of the screen. He is missing the majority of the back half of his car.
I'm not sure if that was an incident involving anybody else, but I saw the tail end of it, and he had lost a good chunk of that machine, including one of the wheels. Shady Ahmad, in the meantime, gets bumped up because of that into 8th place. Let's see what happened to Pai, and it's another driver just overstepping the limits at the tunnel turn.
I'll try to kind of describe it, that turn 12-13 complex over there. You're going so fast. Another incident down here in turn number 5. This one includes Shady Ahmad. This was the battle that we were just watching. All of a sudden, an incident down here at the slowest section of the racetrack. And look at all the cars now grouped up in front of them.
And you know who took the best advantage of that? Josephine Becker. Everybody just kind of piled into one another, unfortunately, and she squeaked through. The number 32, so 32nd on iRating, is running 8th right now. She is up for a lot of points. Meanwhile, Dylan Freckleton also kind of got balked behind all that action. He is now in the thick of it. That's Gabby Martinez ahead and Farron Grau behind.
Take a look at this replay here. So Shady Ahmad, it didn't look like there was actually any contact in the braking zone. Maybe just locked up the rears, had that half spin, and unfortunately everybody else kind of had nowhere to go once they were parked perpendicular on the racetrack and were side by side on the front straightaway. Freckleton, the purple car on the inside, he's trying to take away that position, slides in front of Farron Grau.
He's not got it done yet, though. Farron Grau fighting back, has the shorter distance. Both of them pushing hard to get on the throttle up and over the hill. You can see how difficult it is to find traction. The inside goes back to Freckleton. The driver from the Isle of Man will absolutely chop him off this time. And in fact, another position goes to Vico, who sneaks through on Farron Grau, who is boxed in, or is he? 3 wide. This is not going to work coming into Museum Quarter, and thankfully, Vico backs out.
Yeah, that was a little bit of a help from Vico in that black car, because you saw Freckleton start to squeeze it over onto the racing line, and what was room for 3 wide all of a sudden became room for probably 2 3/4 wide. So good job from Vico to back out of that one.
I think that was wise in that situation. I'm sure he's hungry for spots, but it's just not going to end well for all involved. Freckleton, we don't know what sort of damage he has from that contact, him being involved in that little incident down into Charlotte's Web. Clearly on the back foot, though, because Farron Grau is hassling him.
You know, that brings up a good point. I'm going to go ahead and check, and Farron Grau already with an aggressive maneuver. Freckleton chops the nose, left enough room, but thankfully no contact between the two. And Joe, to your point, I see heavy front wing damage on this purple number 8. He is definitely being affected.
And it looks like a lot of it is straight line speed. You can see just struggles on the straightaways as we ride on board with Vico again, trying to see if he can get stuck into this battle. But this time, Grau will not be denied. He pulls the over-under and gets through on Freckleton.
Let's see how aggressive Dylan's going to be. He really, I think, is saying, yeah, I don't have the straight line speed, so I'm going to do everything I can in these corners as well as these brake zones to be overly aggressive. And as long as he's not banging into any other competitors out there, I think that's how he has to drive this car. He's on the defense once again. This is Vico trying to take a look, but Freckleton just kind of put his car right where he needed to. Uh-oh, here comes the attack.
Yeah, another car going wide, dipping the wheels off into the grass out of the tunnel, and that costs him one more. Vico now up into 12th. Behind them, there was an incident, I think, Shady Ahmad potentially involved in that. It was off screen. But another high-speed accident into 12 and 13.
Fortunate there for Shady, but I think we're still doing pretty good. I do see that, I see that Jacob Reed has officially connected back up in here, so he is out there on the racetrack again, and we actually only have 2 cars that are no longer running.
Yeah, I love seeing that in spite of the issue that Jacob is going to try and finish this race. It'd be so easy to just give it up knowing that, he's out of a potential win there, but he knows that there could be valuable points, and who knows what could happen later on in this race. He is a lap down, unfortunately.
And to your point, I mean, how easy is it? We've all been in the sim here. This is some good action down into turn number 5, and what happens when you get disconnected? You're heartbroken, you feel flustered and everything, and most of the time you're never going to come back. But Jacob Reed is a top competitor out here on iRacing, and he does not have that mentality. He wants to get back out there and turn laps on the playground with everybody.
Kurt Clapper versus Keith Herner. Herner comes out ahead in that one into 26. Kurt still sticking close to the gearbox of that car. So a little bit farther down the order. These are some of the battles that I am worried about when the leaders start to catch. If they're still this close, it's going to be a nightmare trying to navigate this.
Well, and they're going up and through turn number 12 and 13. The leaders are going through the museum corner right now. Look at this, still side by side here with Kurt Clapper and Keith Herner. Looks like Kurt Clapper's finally going to get the position. It's actually going to leave Keith Herner on the back foot because Martin Reisman is now taking advantage as well. Hernandez is all in this mix. This is a good call. It's 6-car scrap.
Yep, and Hernandez is the last one in this group, trying to get underneath there a little bit, and he's just got a side-by-side with Riesman, but he's going to be on the wrong side coming down to the brakeman. Riesman way to the inside and way too deep. Not going to make that corner as he just, I think, clipped Keith Herner, and Herner's missing a wheel.
Yes, there was contact, and it just seemed to dislodge the front left wheel off of Keith Herner's car. Maybe the pit crew didn't have that one 100% tight.
I'm just trying to figure out if this is okay. Yeah, I
it's
think
definitely
that is
damage
accurate.
from the turn 5 incident. Yeah.
Well, I sometimes, the servers don't give us quite the accurate information, and he was going pretty fast for a 3-wheeled car, but now he's finally had to check up, realizing he's not going to be able to keep up the pace. Back to our top 3. Zamaloa now about 4 seconds behind them. We see that little puff every single time they come down through the museum corner. It looks like Partanen and some of these faster guys have figured out you could really push the limits, getting one wheel up into the air over those curves.
JDS is applying even more pressure now to the back of Pauli Partanen. Typically, we see Pauli in the middle section of this race really start to kind of grow that lead, but Jack David Spickett has hung on to be a tough customer, has sat right there in the slipstream the entire time. My one thing, though, is that does JDS have enough speed to make a move, or is he just sitting here?
That's a good question, because he technically did out-qualify the number 2. So on paper, he should have more speed, but how much more speed is, I think, the big question. You can't always tell based on those qualifying what the race pace is going to look like between the pair of them, and especially with Hisada kind of hovering in the background, how much does Jack David Spickett want to make an attempt, knowing that that could backfire on him?
We're pretty much smack halfway. Let's get to this replay of Kevin Parrish. This is in the turn 12-13 complex, another one of those apex curbs, taking a victim. Doesn't make it all the way to the tires, though, so he continues on. To my point, though, we're, call it smack halfway in the middle of this race, so we haven't even reached that tire fall-off phase. Now, if you've abused the tires, you could certainly feel them fall off in a corner or two, or maybe through some of these right-handers as the front left really takes a beating around here. But I have a feeling it's going to be another 10 laps, maybe 8 laps before we really see the tire wear.
That's a good point. And and Spickett's very close this time.
Yeah. It's a mistake at through 15 out of Partanen.
And those are the sort of things I'm sure he is watching for. There's no doubt he wants to have a pretty sure deal if he's going to make a pass. Like I said, Hisada's so close behind. You can see he's already kind of sizing him up a little bit and looks down to the inside, tries to go for a move into Charlotte's Web. He's given plenty of space. In fact, Spickett just about dives out of the way. Togo's up to P2 now.
I think Togo Hisada is very happy with JDS, like you said, diving out of the way at turn number 5. I felt that they could have gone side by side, but Jack David Spickett very generous with the room given, and that allows that black number 5 car to get up on the rear wing of Pauli Partanen.
These two have been racing against each other a lot in these last few seasons, so Togo is no doubt very familiar with what kind of tricks we'll see Pauli get up to, but Pauli holds the better cards in his hands right now with that track position. And there we saw that mistake that Partanen had made the previous lap. In the meantime, onto the main straight. This one looks a little bit more solid from the fin.
Definitely got that line fixed again, and once again a 112.8 out of Partanen, 112.8 out of Hisada, a little bit slower out of JDS, that third car in line after getting past there for second place. Togo Hisada is carrying that momentum. He's looking to try to attack Pauli Partanen sooner than later. That was just a feint to the inside to try to draw his eyes off of that brake marker.
So for reference, they're about 2 seconds a lap faster than the cars they are catching at the tail end of the field. And they are maybe about 4 or 5 corners away from them. So it's not going to be very long, and it definitely will be before the end of this race that they catch them, as that time that was well off track for Togo Hisada. And I wonder if he got a slowdown pit. It looks like he did not, but that had to have been marginal.
I don't see anything there, so I think he might have got away with it, but I think that Togo is just kind of carrying the performance of his race car right now. He was sitting in 4th the majority of this race. Jacob Reed dropped out, so he kind of went up to third place, made the aggressive move on JDS just a lap ago in turn number 5. And so he's steadily been working his way forward. And if he feels good in the car right now, why not attack Pauli Partanen? But Pauli responds with a heck of a lap, a 1:12.5, nearly as fast as he's gone today.
Maybe not happy with that pressure he's been receiving these last few laps, trying to pick it up a bit and run away from this group. So here's a replay with Barry West, who spins coming through the roller coaster and then gets punched in the side, unfortunately, by a car just unable to avoid.
And I think that was actually the debris. Did you see that little bit of debris that disappeared right before the leaders came through, or right as the leaders came through? I think that was the rear wing from Barry West.
I think you're right. And up next is potentially Daniel Gallis, who I think was the car that ran into him. So they're getting them even quicker now. 13 laps to go. So, yes, we are past halfway, as Joey had mentioned, but they're reeling in the back of the field at a rate of knots. And I know we've been building up to it, but it's just it's going to be a major factor in this, as well as the drivers tend to behave in the lap traffic. There are some things that you cannot avoid in this style of racing.
Looks like Togo Hisada has aged a few years here, the number 5 car. I believe this is Barry West.
Barry West, yeah.
Down there, our big cat. But, yeah, I think he'll look at that and be like, oh, you know, I'm looking pretty fast out here today.
Wise beyond his years, the number 5. But Jack David Spickett hoping to get a little bit clever on him after he got mugged down into this corner a few laps ago. Can he try and fight back on him? Because that certainly looked like opportunistic moves from Togo Hisada to try to get by him. He was close, yes, but seemed to be facilitated by Spickett maybe being a bit slow out of turn 4 into 5. So there could be chances for the 10 trying to get stuck back in.
Now, a few years ago, it was always Yuka versus Pauli up front, and I always compared it. They were playing chess while everybody else was playing checkers. Now, I wonder if Pauli Partanen has kind of shifted back into that mode here today, because he had a good commanding lead. It didn't seem like he was setting overall fastest lap as the race turned on, but now that he's got his main competitor behind him, all of a sudden he's grabbed another gear, a 12.4 that last time by. Let's see what it is this time, a 12.5. So, I mean, talk about turning extremely fast laps. That's another 0.3 faster than what he was doing when he was leading Jack David Spickett.
But worth noting, Hisada's last lap was a 12.4. So he is continuing to gain here and there. He does have the speed. Watching from onboard Jack, he looks a little farther away than he did before.
I think it's because these two have turned it up that extra, call it 5%. Now, Jack David Spickett was doing a tremendous job hanging on to the back of Pauli Partanen, but what if Pauli was just saving that little bit, maybe 1% here, maybe 1% there, 2% here, and now all of a sudden, because he's got Togo on, he can't afford to do that anymore. He's got to run away, and that might be that performance difference we're seeing.
And something we haven't mentioned, you know, you talked a little bit about saving the tires. It's 101 Fahrenheit on the track surface, so it's a little bit hot today on the track.
And that could also play into Pauli Partanen's hands. With having all of that clean air on the front wing that entire time, it allows him to drive the car where he wants to. Togo Hisada, because he's following, he can't always just follow in the tire tracks of Pauli Partanen. He's got to search for some of that clean air. So yeah, the advantage should go to Partanen as long as he's managing his stuff.
But the advantage that lap by a good margin was Hisada, new fastest lap of the race. We know he likes to make this move down into turn 5, but not this time. I thought he was close enough, but maybe Togo doesn't think so.
A little bit of a later turn-in and later apex from Partanen allows him to put the power down a little bit sooner, so he kind of escapes away half a car length from Togo Hisada. Togo more aggressive on all of the apex curbs, going down through that museum section, and now we approach the fast turn 10 and 11 flat out through here. Stay off of those apex curbs, and this upcoming section we've seen a lot of drivers have trouble with. Hit this compression, but stay off of that apex curb. Have the car unweighted up and over the tunnel. There's a lot going on here in Sector 3.
And these onboards really give you an idea of how quick the track comes at you. There is just no room to relax. You have this front straightaway, and you got a couple seconds to catch your breath, but then it is right back into it as soon as we get to the end of it here.
I'm with you from your point maybe a handful of laps ago. We were talking about how Pauli Partonen always trims out the car, and just the attitude difference from how Togo is driving in this onboard. He's attacking the racetrack, attacking the brake zones. What's Pauli Partonen doing? Leaving the door open, late apexes. The car is a little loose, but when he stands on the gas, it goes.
And that has caused some frustration for Togo Hisada. 9 laps left to go. The opportunities will start to run out unless he starts to get a bit more aggressive. I don't think we've quite seen it from Togo yet. He's gotten close to him, but we saw the kind of dives he's willing to do on Jack David Spickett, and nothing seems to have cropped up with an attack on Partonen yet.
No, and this is just a glimpse of our battle for 7th place. This is Alzagari holding on off of Josephine Becker. Becker's looking to grab 7th position, looking to make it +8 on the day. This would be a great race for that number 32 car, but kind of back to my point about Partonen versus Togo Hisada. You were mentioning how aggressive he likes to be down there in turn number 5 as we see Timothy Reed go for a spin. If he does have more downforce than Pauli Partonen, that will also give him the confidence that, hey, I can make this outbraking maneuver because I have all that extra grip.
Love what I'm seeing here from the 32 of Josephine Becker. Just sticking close to Josu, but the 9 car will hold her off at least for the time being. Back down into turn 1. You can see the big plunge into that corner as then it just rises back up and then falls once again for a long, long time. And then Joey talked about that huge compression there. Ooh, Togo Hisada. That definitely looked like a little bit more of a move of some sort. Didn't quite work, but here they go. There's that lap traffic in front of them. Will they pull off to the side? Yes, they do. That was a Boscus just letting them go.
Yeah, and I think there's actually going to be 1 or 2 more just up the road here. So you were right. Togo Hisada was right on that rear wing going through the museum section. Really opens up turn number 15 to try to carry the speed. Partonen does an excellent job of getting on the gas, though, to get onto this front straightaway. So we're going to start another lap here. 7 laps to go at Barber Motorsports Park, and the traffic is going to be a lot more here in this remaining few laps.
On board with 2nd place. They're catching up to also a battle in front of them soon, and that is going to play a major factor in it. Once they get past this single car, then suddenly Riesman, Clapper, and Barry West are all scuffling for the 20th positions or so.
I'm with you that Togo Hisada has a big-time performance advantage on the brakes into turn number 5, so I think that's probably where I would circle the most common point for a move to be. However, I'm also looking down towards turn number 15. Remember how I mentioned he really opened up the radius and carried the speed through that last time? I think if he's close enough to Pauli Partonen, he could pull one of those last corner maneuvers. Got to get to the inside of this lap car. Thankfully, they were heads up.
It's very rare that you see passes into 16, but not impossible. And I'm sure Hisada will know it. Partonen will probably be well aware of that fact. He'll try to cover that off if he just gets a whiff of the thought that Togo might try and sneak through. Now they have caught up to Kurt Clapper and Martin Riesman, who I think Martin just made that pass recently.
This is going to get very, very busy, like you were saying, because it is that battle. Togo Hisada takes a look down into turn number 5. That was more one of those, I'm going to hit my same brake marker, but just kind of pop out, see if I can distract Pauli Partonen. I think that was Keith Clapper that they're going by right now, so he gets out of the way. Togo Hisada still as close as he's ever been through this museum section. Pauli Partonen just seems to be able to put the power down a little bit better. Let's see how close Togo is in the draft coming down here to turn 12. He's close.
The first driver was pretty polite there with Clapper. Next up, going to be Martin. The Dutchman has his own race, still trying to catch up to Barry West. Although I say that, West is not for position, it looks like. So hopefully, if he gets a good chance, he should be able to pull out of the way as these 3, nose to tail with one another, are getting the 5 to go marker. And yes, look at that. Excellent awareness there from the Dutchman of Riesman.
Nicely done. There is one more lapped car just in front of our leaders here. They're going through this same section on the racetrack, and you see him just up in front. That is Barry West. He's usually very heads up and unfortunately has had an incident already today, so he should be aware of the leaders coming up behind.
That lap one, turn one pass for Pauli Partanen has shaped this race. And look at, he's watching the mirrors now. You can see him looking down into him, slowing up. Great job there by Barry West. Allows all three of them through, does not affect the battle.
Yeah, and even pulls over for that other car behind. So Togo Hisada freed up to attack Pauli Partanen. He's always so close through the museum section, and look at him use the slipstream here. However, the brake zone into turn number 12 is pretty much non-existent in these cars. So unless you are wheel-to-wheel, side-by-side, I just don't see the move happening into 12. Let's see how much more speed he can carry through this right-hander right here. Earlier in the race, I thought there was a little bit more of an advantage. Maybe it's those tires starting to equalize.
And just to complicate things, we've been talking so much about Togo versus Pauli. Let's not forget that behind him, they do have Jack David Spickett just sitting there well within range that he could try and use whatever Togo attacks with against him.
I've always been taught that, hey, you know what? If the door is open, go ahead and take an advantage. And sometimes Togo Hisada will open the door, although it's very, very rare that he opens the door for anybody behind when he's actually trying to make that aggressive pass. He's always so on his marks out here that it's tough to get by either one of these drivers without that mistake.
Just right on top of it every single time. Frustration, no doubt, starting to build in Togo Hisada, knowing he's so close, but can't seem to make the right move at the right place to get by Partanen. And even if he does, he's got to make sure that Partanen doesn't just breeze right back past in a straight line. That was a big slide from Togo that time over the tunnel turn.
Maybe JDS is feeling a little bit feisty, and maybe he has a little bit more grip than both of the cars directly in front of him. Look at this tremendous train that we've got, starting with Mickey Friesen, including Pablo Suarez, Jason Clapper, Kevin Parrish, Antonio Alvarez, Gord Janot. That is one big train going through turn number 5, and oh, we have some contact down there.
That's going to be Clapper and Suarez who get turned the wrong way. I think that started with Suarez getting loose, and then it chain reactions back into them, unfortunately. Meanwhile, that means that they're going to be caught even quicker by this group now behind them. And, oh yeah, another battle for position, I believe, in front of them coming up. 3 cars fighting for 20th.
So here's the thing about Barber Motorsports Park is that we can kind of circle where the potential passing opportunities can happen. With 3 laps to go, really call it 2.5 laps to go, and Togo Hisada is just simply running out of opportunities. I think that he's really only got 2, maybe 3 more opportunities left in this race.
Well, then I have to ask you, Joey, if you're in Togo Hisada's position, if he has to get creative, where are you seeing the opportunities?
Right here. I think that Pauli Partanen, as long as you are close enough, you can take his eyes off of the racetrack and put him in the mirror. There is a car on the front straightaway pointed the wrong way. Thankfully, didn't affect our leaders. But I think the most realistic shot is coming up here into turn number 5. Look at Togo's really trying to keep the car narrow, try to keep it in the slipstream of Partanen. This could be the opportunity, Joe.
This is about the closest we've seen him get coming down into Charlotte's Web. As we watch from Spickett's perspective, he is going to try and show the nose down to the inside. He's given room at the apex by our leader, but this is where the straight line advantage is going to help out with Pauli Partanen. The Finn has the inside. He's got pretty good speed, but he's not brave enough on the brakes. Is that too brave? And Togo Hisada sends it into a spin off to the side. He will not make the pass and lose second place in the process.
He gave it everything that he possibly could. He tried to stretch it around the outside. We knew that he had the grip. We knew that he had the downforce. He pushed the limit and unfortunately pushed just a little bit past it.
This is going to give a lap and a half to JDS to maybe try and get revenge. He lost it on the first lap. Could he get it back on the final lap as they come out of the final turn? We're going to take one more look at it. And yeah, I think both drivers were on the limit here.
And it's exactly what Togo needed to do, right? He needed to push the issue on the outside, and unfortunately he was just a little bit wide, clobbered that curb, with all 4 wheels. I think if he had clobbered it with 2 wheels, he probably would have been okay, but it upset the platform, and we saw what happened.
I think Togo can be proud that he gave it everything and didn't leave it on the table. If it didn't get the win, well, then that's just the way the cards fell today. Jack David Spigot does close up behind Pauli Partanen, but I haven't seen him within range of a pass. However, look at this lap traffic. They are now catching that battle. I was talking about 3 cars all fighting for position, so they're not going to be in a hurry to pull over.
This could get very interesting. JDS is sitting here licking his lips saying, yes, please, hold up Pauli Partanen through this fast 12-13. There goes one of the cars sliding off the racetrack. Partanen still going to have to deal with at least one around the outside. This is the opportunity JDS is looking for. He's trying to get to the inside. Big time wiggle. One more corner remaining.
Partanen was wise, and he blocked the inside as quickly as he could. That will hold on to the win as Partanen goes 3 for 3 to start this season here at the end of 2025. A tense finish there at the end, but Partanen will beat Spigot, our pole sitter, and Husada does collect a podium finish.
Fireworks. I mean, we always think that these Lotus 79 races are some of the best, but I think that today's race just kind of proved it. We had minimal retirements. We're still 3 wide. Oh my goodness. That was through the final set of corners here, and it looks like Vico is going to end up with a top 10. This just proves my point. We had a heck of a battle up front, and here it is to collect a top 10. They were still fighting in that last set of corners.
Yeah, that was Boskus, a lapped car, doing his best to get out of the way, again in the same spot that we saw before, but with no place to take it. What about Jason Clapper here? Usually our hard charger. In fact, I think he is. No, he's not. As Cockrum and Spice have a few more positions, but Jason still up 15, and he's not going to get one more here, it looks like.
Can I catch my breath yet, Joe?
I don't know, man. It looks like, yes, we can finally breathe because this is the last of the lead lap runners. So here, and Josephine Becker right at the very end. That is disappointing to see because she was having such a good race. She still did get a top 10 and was up 6, but maybe could have had one more, but for a mistake at the finish. All right, let's take a look at those results. Pauli Partanen with a critical pass at the start, getting him another victory over Jack David Spigot, who is going to be trying to take that as a lesson for later, potentially. Toga Husada getting third, but was so much closer for much of the race and up in second, in fact, for the majority of it. Alberto Sanau was in P4. Oye Zamaloa was 5th. Timothy Reed, 6th today after a bit of a spin partway through the race. Farron Grau, P7. Alzagare is in the 8th spot. And as we mentioned, Josephine Becker, P9, ahead of Vico, who rounds out your top 10.
Then in 11th, we have Gabri Martinez. Dylan Freckleton going to finish in 12th. Bjorn Ackerman back here in 13th with Mickey Friesen in 14th. Antonio Alvarez, a good day, plus 13 to finish in 15th with Kevin Parrish back here in 16th. Jason Clapper in 17th, Gorgenot in 18th, and then comes our official biggest mover of the day. That is Matt Cockrum, plus 16 on the day to finish in 19th. I got to give a shout out to Ellis Spice as well here in 20th. He was also plus 16 on the day.
Then from there, 21st was cars a lap down with Steinbild in that 21st spot. You've got Hernandez 22nd. Riesman 23rd and Kurt Clapper 24th. They lapped quite a few cars there at the end. Gallus P25 and Reed, who I found out had his game crash, and that's why he disappeared. Yeah, so Jean-Francois Boskus 2 laps down in 27th. Suarez 28th, and Barry West getting back out on track 3 laps down in 29th. Aaron Blair 30th. I believe we're getting into the DNFs from here on out. Ortega, Kilo, Herner, Ahmad, Pai, Nara, the last of your field. Does look like we have Pauli Partanen ready to chat with us. So why don't we have a little conversation about what was no doubt a tense race from his perspective. Pauli, though, they say you can't win a race on lap 1, but today probably felt like it a bit.
Yeah, for a moment it felt. Yeah, this track is super hard to overtake. Like usually when you think hard tracks to overtake, it's like Long Beach or Detroit, but I can tell you this is way harder with this track. So Yeah, I was hoping to get the P1 and I got it, and I tried to just drive cleanly and not do do not do any mistakes. So that was the plan.
Well, that late race attack from Togo, the two of you going side by side into Museum Corner, how far into the braking zone were you going there? Because it looked like both of you were as deep as humanly possible.
Yeah, I was braking a bit too later on that corner because I noticed that Togo is so close, and yeah, I think I nailed the braking, but seems to be that also Togo nailed the braking for that corner. So it was really showcase of skill. It's not really easy to brake with this car. It takes a lot of practice and a lot of skill. So that was intense, and then we were side by side. So what's the better?
So the interesting thing about all this, and I'm double checking, and it does look like, yeah, you did not take either the fastest lap or the pole for the third race in the row, and yet for the third race in the row, you're winning. Are you thinking race more so than the other factors, such as those bonus points? Are you focusing on that race pace?
Well, last 5 years I have only practiced for quali, and I still do it. I don't really practice races. I just practice quali and try to get the best out of quali. But I don't know what happened this season. But I just cannot get the quali runs well. Like I was P5 at first track and P6 on last week, and I was P2. So yeah, the qualis have not been the best of me, but yeah, I have noticed lately, like last year, that I usually don't get the fastest lap anymore. So it seems like I don't have the best race pace usually, but I'm usually the truly train at the front, and everybody behind me try to overtake me. So maybe that takes a bit of my focus and not really able to give best again with the race pace.
Well, apparently Joey behind the scenes is saying that you suck at going fast, but good job at winning. So there's that.
Yeah, that sounds very good.
All right. Well, congratulations on that third win in a row, and hopefully we'll talk to you some more.
Yeah, thank you. Bye-bye.
That was Pauli Parton. And Joey, in the meantime, hopefully has some kinder words for Togo Hisada, who was third.
Togo Hisada, congratulations on third place. I got two questions here for you. First question, did you have more downforce than Pauli Partonen, or did you just have a little bit more grip into some of those brake zones?
I'm not sure. I feel no difference with Pauli. Yeah, to be honest, yeah, me and Pauli is usually discussing with how to set up for, for the week. And this week, yeah, Pauli didn't have a lot of experience for this track, so I made a slight change, like we made the set together,
Mhm.
So maybe he tweaks a little bit for the wings, but I don't know, and I don't feel so much differences. The only differences
Okay.
is his racing line into really last two corners and the first corner, racing line is a little bit difficult, so little bit different, sorry. So that makes the difference with down exit speed. Yeah.
And then my second question for you is, we thought that you were very, very strong into turn number 5, maybe also strong into turn number 15. Did you feel like the brakes were where you were faster than Pauli today?
Maybe. Maybe, but always our lap time is so close, so
So close. It is so close.
yeah. So maybe I will be if I drove the first place, then I think the same thing happening. Yeah.
Yep. I get that. It is so much fun watching you two battle. Great job on all of the passes today to get up into 4th from that start, and then to get around Jack David Spickett into turn number 5. That was a great maneuver, and we were all on our feet watching you guys battle for the lead. So thank you so much for coming out here and racing with us week in and week out. You've proven why you're a champion. Is there anybody you want to give a shout out to?
At first, thanks for great battle, great racing for the Pauli and Jack David Spickett. It's very very intense battling battle as usual. Thank you very much. And the Lotus 79 communities and the Global SimRacing Channel broadcasting team. Thank you so much.
That was Togo Hisada finishing in a heartbreaking third place here today.
Yep, I'm sure he wanted more than that, but that's going to lead us to a close on our interviews with a big thank you ourselves to that community, that Lotus 79 community who continues to come back and have us cover this awesome series. Also, I want to give a thank you, of course, to our team today, Joey, Christian, and Dougie. Make sure to subscribe to GSRC and to iRacing so you don't miss a moment. The next race in this series is going to be at Watkins Glen on Sunday, October 12th at 12:30 p.m. Eastern. And of course, on GSRC itself, we do have POC coming up tomorrow night at Interlagos. Joey, this was, again, a joy, but man, the tension out on track in this series, it never ceases to amaze me what these drivers deal with.
It's extremely impressive. I mean, we had a 4-car lead fight for entire 31 laps until, unfortunately, Jacob Reed kind of dropped out with that game crash. We had a huge top 10 fight. Josephine Becker, the F2 points championship leader, had a great race. And then like that little bit of an incident down there at turn number 5, no big deal. But yeah, we had just tremendous battles. This is what Lotus 79 is. It doesn't matter if it's here at Barber, if it's over at Monza, what racetrack we're at. It could be a draft fest. It could be a go-kart racetrack. No matter what, it's going to provide great racing.
That's why we love this series so much. Well, thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I'm Joe Peak. Until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.
This is iRacing.